Hello, everyone. I'm Punit Gandhi, Senior Associate with Climate Center for Cities, and we would like to welcome you to the CQ and WRI learning series on climate change in cities. So today's topic of the learning series is innovation in climate change. And I guess every one of us has gone through the IPCC report, at least the summary of it, which mentions that it's a code red for humanity. And I think we really need to start talking about it more and also start bringing in more innovations from ground to the center, to urban areas, to every place possible to be able to, uh, circumnavigate the scenarios. And for that, in today's topic, innovation in climate change, we have three panelists with us. And so we have also made sure that while we talk about innovation, we just do not talk about projects and startups, but we also talk about processes and systems in places, especially for government. And how can we bring innovation in governments, outside of government, with startups, without startups, everything into picture. And that is why we are hosting today's learning series on innovation in climate change. So let me start off by bringing our first speaker, Mr. Karthik Chandrasekhar. He is the founder and CEO of Sangam Ventures, co-founder of Legstart.in, and the chairman of AIC Sangam Innovation Foundation. Karthik actively works in the clean technology entrepreneurial ecosystem of India. And prior to his work at Sangam, he used to work at Acumen Fund and TVS Capital Funds. He has also worked as investment banker, holds an MBA from Chicago Booth, MS in Public Policy from Carnegie Mellon, and a BTech from IIT Bombay. Welcome, Karthik. And I would like to open the floor to you with the question: how are the startups and incubator sector embracing the rise of climate tech and urban tech ecosystem? And what are the major challenges that they are trying to combat right now?
Sorry, am I unmuted? Yeah, sorry. Thanks, Puneet. So I think it's a very interesting time that we live in, right?
I
And
guess there is
uh,
some.
can you hear me better now?
Yeah, Karthik. Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear
So
you. Fine.
thanks. And so just to, within Sangam, obviously we look at climate change investments, as well as within the incubator, looking at like basically seeding innovation, right? And what we have seen is there seems to be a counterpart, kind of entrepreneurial movement happening in the city-state ecosystem as well, right? One in terms of being, states and cities being smarter at sourcing solutions for the problems that they're seeing, but also in terms of creating what you call processes and programs to kind of bring startups forward, right? So what we are seeing is a lot of activity within the startup ecosystem responding to the call for innovation from, say, the Maharashtra government, which has this Society for Innovation. I know the Kerala government has quite a bit going on in terms of innovation for sustainability. I know the Tamil Nadu government also kind of brings together startups, with a bit more of a linkage towards their history of the manufacturing sector. So I think a lot of it is driven by the kind of community and the talent that the cities and states are trying to bring forward. So I think there's a bit of a local context to how different startup ecosystems are evolving. And it's very dependent whether you're in Raipur or you're in Indore or you're in Pune, and each of them have a different flavor to it, right?
I absolutely agree that yeah, a lot of states also have taken up the baton and are now making it go forward. So the next speaker with us is MP Adagu Pandya Raja. He's a city innovation officer for Chennai Smart City Limited. He was previously a software professional in the United Kingdom and a research fellow with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs under India's Smart Cities mission. His initial idea of Madras Waste Exchange helped Greater Chennai Corporation fetch award in Swachh Sarvekshan 2020 as best mega city in India for innovation. and his COVID-19 technological tool to monitor spread of COVID-19 for Chennai City helped Chennai Smart City Limited fetch Best City with Technological Intervention for COVID-19 award under India Smart Cities Award 2021. Welcome, Adagu. And we would
Thanks,
like
Puneet.
to ask you what is the role of, because in India we have not yet seen innovation officers, especially in the urban administration. So what is the role of an innovation officer that we are talking about here, and what kind of innovations do you bring in, and how do you bring those things?
Thank you, Puneet. So, innovation, as you said, it's clearly a new platform for government, and there are India is a developing country. We all know that in developing countries we have plethora of problems, which means we have potential for plethora of solutions. So, government cannot focus. Government is not the only body which can focus on problems or to solve the problems. All of them, all the stakeholders, all the like academic institutions, startups, and civil societies, even individuals or students, all of them has to work together in order to solve the problem. So if we want to bring all of them together, we need a platform which is a kind of authentic platform. So we created, so a space has been created here, which is called Innovation Hub, which directly works under the Corporation of Chennai. So here we will throw the problems which city faces or the corporation faces, and anyone can take the problem and work on it. Basically, we provide a test bed for startups and innovative ideas. See, there are a lot of startups, a lot of bright minds. I can see a lot of people coming up with different ideas, but they need a place where they can test it and create a proof of concept. So here we are facilitating it. If and startup comes with a good idea that can help society or help government at large, we will give them the required data, required access, and necessary resources so that they can test that idea in a ward level or zone level, and they can take the proof of concept. If that idea or proof of concept is more satisfactory, then we ourselves will implement it across city, and they can take that idea and take it to other cities also. Like that, we have developed some smart city ideas, and all of them are quite successful. The recent one is related to COVID. We created a slot booking queuing mechanism just to avoid this rushing of people in the line, and that was done by a small startup. And they did a pilot here that was so successful. Now other city corporations in Chennai, they want that idea to be implemented in their corporation. So now they are making money out of it. It has given a what do you call given this is giving them a spotlight, so they can test and they can take the idea outside. And also government, the most of the activities are taken care by IAS officers, and they are very much tight in their schedule. A normal person cannot go and get his time and talk to him related to innovation or any idea, because they don't have time. They are running with their day-to-day problems. So this hub is acting as a back office for them. So whenever we get new idea, it will be diverted to the hub, innovation hub, and we will curate it and we will filter it. And if it is good, we will take it to the city. So this is the role which the innovation hub and the city innovation officer is playing here. I hope I made some sense.
Yes, absolutely, Adagu. Thank you so much for that brief explanation. So the next we have with us is Vilma Rodriguez. She is the founder and CEO of Sahaja Zero Waste, a social enterprise committed to implementing holistic zero waste solutions across India. She is a former journalist with the Times of India Group and Business World magazine. She first set up NGO Sahaja in 2001, and then a business model of Sahaja Zero Waste in 2013. The company today brings together nature, people, and technology so that waste is managed in a manner where up to 96% of the resources is recovered. Sahaja Zero Waste today manages around 100 tons of waste per day, and that's a big feat, Wilma. I'm really proud that someone is being able to do such kind of scale of operations. So tell us more about what does your operation look like, what does your startup look like on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you, Puneet. And we're so happy that you're looking at us as a startup that has scaled, which I think is something that we've been able to do across pretty much India now, but of course largely in South India. So when you're looking at waste management, we are in crisis now in terms of even the quantities of waste that has been generated, and the fact that there is still big gaps in the systems to manage waste. But when we look at it and put it in the framework of climate change and environment, it is important for us to understand that waste management has to be equal to resource recovery. So the solutions that we want have to now give us opportunities and the implementation of systems which recover waste, all kinds of waste, whether it is wet, dry, all the different types of paper, plastic, etc. Resource recovery should be the heart of a waste management system, but also looking at decentralized systems, because resource recovery can happen only when waste is managed as per the Solid Waste Management Rules 2016 in a decentralized manner. So what we have done is recognize that across towns, cities, etc., 40% of waste is generated by the so-called bulk generators. So these are larger campuses, these are corporate tech parks, these are residences, apartments, etc. So imagine if 40% of waste, which is a good chunk of waste, comes into a system where organizations, startups, entrepreneurs can actually bring resource recovery into that system. And that's what we do. Sahaja Zero Waste has 3 verticals. The first vertical is the Zero Waste program, where we set in place an entire end-to-end system, beginning with segregation at source, and then making sure that every fraction of waste goes first into a primary sorting system, and then there is a destination for the wet waste. It could be organic composting, or it could be biogas, bio-CNG systems. And then you have what we call a material recovery facility for the further sorting of the paper, plastic, metal, glass, and then that goes to different recycling systems. And we've now also got technology to kind of track the waste. So we do use an MIS system, an MIS platform. We do use IoT to make sure that the weight that is generated at point A is captured by our team and then goes back to the customer to give them the information of the quality of the waste that was collected and what has happened to it. So that's the kind of end-to-end systems that we do for corporate campuses like Microsoft, across all the RMZ, Brookfield tech parks, for campuses like the Indian Institute of Management, which we've been managing. It's a 100-acre campus, managing all their waste now for almost 7 years. So that's our zero waste program. And then you have the second vertical, which is the EPR, which is tracking and channeling all plastic waste to proper recycling from the generator to the recycler. There's a lot of documentation that we do so that brands are compliant with this new extended producer responsibility. And then there is the aspect of circular economy. So the third vertical for us is the sale of products, which is, it's a whole lot of paper, stationery products, our waste getting recycled, coming back as paper and being used again. Likewise with plastic. So we've been able to put all of these 3 verticals together, and our business, much as it is a private limited today, having raised some investment, we are also, the whole business is embedded in social and environmental impact. So we do have a team of 300 people, of which 205 are people from the base of the pyramid, our field team, 65% are women. We make sure that our business model is revenues from waste and revenues from a service fee. So 75% of the revenues is actually the service fee. And it's because of that that we are able to pay minimum wages to all our field staff. We were even able to make sure that, during the COVID times, all of them got their salaries, because we have MOUs with all our customers. So it's a very formal system which we have. And I have I have lots to say, but obviously not enough time to talk about how this may not be considered as smart. And it may not fit into your definition of innovation simply because we are equating innovation with technology. Technology is an enabler. Yeah, it can definitely help, as I mentioned, in an IoT system, blockchain, all of that. But finally, you need people and you need nature to also work with technology to actually bring the whole system together. Yeah, so I would really like us to think a little bit beyond technology, because finally, we are seeing that at least with waste, we do need systems and processes and intensity of processes implemented on the ground to solve our waste problem.
Absolutely, Wilma. I do agree with you. Technology over here is an enabler for sure, but it's not just the means to the end. And when we are talking about innovation, it's much more than just talking about a tech product. We are, especially in government ecosystem, I feel that a service or a system in place, a new system in place, can also act as a big point of innovation as a leverage. I will ask audience to start asking their questions, and we'll soon be taking up their questions as well. But before we do that, I have now a more generalized question for all the three speakers over here. And that is, we are talking about innovation over here, and we are talking about scaling it up as well, because we will need to rapidly scale it up, either in terms of technology for some products, for some products it will be systems in place. So I would like to get each one's viewpoint of view over here. That let's start with Karthik. How do you see an incubation center being able to, upscale innovation in urban tech and climate tech side, or not even tech, but urban and climate solutions per se?
Sure, Puneet. So I think, following up on what Wilma talked about, and also what Ayugu mentioned, right? I think the whole idea around smart is more around just, being more reactive and being more inclusive, and being participatory, I guess, is the best word for it, right? So basically, you're not like doing something and nobody likes it. Smart is about like, taking feedback, talking to the citizens, making sure that whatever you're, right? And so if you take that and think about us as incubators, or what Ayugu talked about in terms of the innovation hub, I think for a startup or for any citizen with an idea who wants to contribute, right? I think the first part is finding the avenue to kind of voice your ideas and get feedback, right? It could be just a conversation, it could be a pilot in a ward, it could be a pilot, and that happened some of our startups. I think one of them works with Wilma and Sahaja. So I think you want that initial feedback where there is kind of a vested interest in somebody giving you real feedback because this is solving a problem that they're facing, right? So that's the first part. So one is basically time, resource in terms of getting feedback from the organization or the ecosystem that you're trying to solve the problem for. The second is actually quite a bit around talent, whether it's skilled, unskilled, manpower, put people to work in terms of solving, because a lot of urban solutions require manpower and people coming together and kind of creating kind of organized ecosystem with good kind of quality of life in terms of both for the workers, for the people who are kind of benefiting from the services, right? So kind of bringing together people, talent is the second part, I think. And then the last one, and I think the one that India kind of suffers from is basically the financing gap, right? And that's basically, I think, a function of trust. And that is something that we try and work towards breaking down, where if there is a way for us to build trust through creating programs, creating conversations where over time, somebody spending taxpayer dollars can build trust with an organization that does not have a significant history, that can really help, right? So those are, I think, the three layers of work that needs to happen for a meaningful kind of participatory kind of conversation to move towards a solution in the urban space.
Yes, absolutely. And I do agree with you on the trust part over here, because unless and until the client or even the solution provider does not have that much amount of trust, I don't think so it will be able to, showcase itself, showcase its true nature of what all things are possible with that solution. And that is where I would like to bring you in, because you are from the city side, and scaling up in your language would mean a lot of systems, playing with systems, and how do we implement processes. So where do you see, can we bring in this trust kind of factor for the system as well to be able to adapt to this solution?
Sure. Can I can I say something, Puneet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It is for you.
Yeah, fine. First of all, Vilma, that also that what your organization is doing is really a wonderful job. I should thank you for that. You are playing a major role in keeping our country clean. Thanks a lot. And I would like to add a point to what Mr. Karthik said, that participatory in nature should be there. And what we are trying is what we see as a smartness, what I personally see as a smartness is a decentralized kind of solution. There are a lot of different problems are there, localized problems are there, and we need local solution and local people has to work on it. It's not we have to bring solution from somewhere to solve the issue which is ours, which is here, or take the solution which is here to take it to some other place and solve it. Because the people in that area, the people who has the proximity to that problem will know more about that problem. So if we enable that environment, enable that ecosystem, so that itself will solve that problem. Here, it's our idea is not promoting startup, our idea is to solve a problem. So problem, it's kind of demand and supply. Every problem is a demand. So every demand has a supply. So we have to match. So every problem can be matched with the right solution, and that, but startup plays an important role because they are coming up with a lot of solutions. So what I found, many startup approaches, what I found peculiar is many of the startup, they don't know the exact problem statement. They take imaginary problem statement without understanding the proper ground reality. The problem statement they take will be on the problems faced by Western countries, not the problem statements of our country or our city. So it will have a lot of Western touch, and though that problem will not be existing here, and they will try to solve it. So many times that mismatch is there. So the participatory approach is very much needed. Like he said, at least when they come, if we create a platform, they will get a feedback. Okay, they will get a chance to correct that, and they can work on the right approach by getting more feedback from different people, different right-minded people. So this is something which I found here, and I'm really sorry. And Puneet, what was the question you asked? Can you repeat that again?
I think Punit was asking about scaling up of the startups. So, how are they looking? I mean, how are you working with them to?
Yeah, my like I said before, the scaling up. See, the thing is, it's more of a marketing. We all know that there is a demand. Obviously, people will start to come in. So scaling up is, we are not focusing on scaling up of the startup. We are just focusing on giving them a space, a test bed, basically, because there are different kind of ideas approaching. Even 2 days back, there was a startup which they are working on malaria, the mosquito larval identification. They want to digitally map every area and project the citywide view. I'm just giving you an example. So this, we don't want to, we are not focusing on scaling up of that startup, but we just want to give them a test bed so that they can test their idea, take that out, and they can show it to some other city or some other companies, and they can sell that idea. So this is the level at which we are looking at. In that way, that idea will be both useful for the city from our perspective, and it will help that particular startup because they will have a concrete POC, and they can tell that they have tested in Chennai Corporation. That itself will act as a good marketing potential to sell their tools or sell whatever they have developed. And also they will identify a lot of glitches, because when what is in concept or in paper is different from how it is getting implemented in ground. Only then a lot of realities which they haven't expected, they have to face and they have to fix. All those things will come. So this kind of experience we are, through Innovation Hub, we are promoting this, and we have, it's a recent initiative. It's just 6 months old, and right now we have given chances on 6-7 startups, and we are working parallelly with many ideas.
Argu, just a follow-up question.
Yes, Karthik.
To you.
Sorry, go ahead, Karthik.
Is there a budget that you have allocated for these pilots? Is there a thought process with the startups around, if the POC is successful, what would that mean in their engagement with the Chennai Corporation?
Thing is, this setup is completely new. So initially we didn't pitch for budgeting thing, because if I pitch for budget, this setup will not exist. So how we pitched this, we said we will promote that idea so that they will get a chance to pilot it. That is one of the objective. But how we pitch to the government is, government how see it is, government will get some tool without spending much money on it, without spending taxpayers' money. They are able to solve some problem. But we used to pay the infrastructure cost, but by the, if it is a technological tools, if that tool generates some, while implementing, if it's generating server cost or some other cost, that we will pay, but not the cost of the manpower. So we will clearly tell that we will facilitate in testing your idea, but we will not be funding it. And one more thing, but we will give you proper appreciation certificates or POC certificates from the corporation, which you can use. And also, if the idea is good, we will implement it. We will procure it if it's very much satisfactory. But we cannot ensure, and we won't tell them, we cannot give guarantee that we are going to buy it. Only based on the result, we will. If the result is good, it's obviously we will procure it, because no one is going to deny that. And also, I always tell to the startup that your idea should speak, their POC should speak, because we have seen some ideas which they have tested in some other cities. They will just come and show the result. That's it. The city will procure that idea. So it should be so powerful that, because like I said before, there are a lot of problems are there. So if we bring the proper solution, which is cost effective and which can help city and which can create good name for government, obviously no one is going to deny. They will see ways to procure it. But at least in this front, for a test bed, we don't, because corporation, if you take the corporation, it is a powerful body. It has enormous body. It has access to most of the departments. So if corporation is not helping them, who's going to help? So that is why we have created this facility. And this we haven't defined structures yet. Now we have boundaries yet, because we don't know how it is going to grow. There's a lot of new things are coming inside. So but we will wait and see how this innovation hub develops. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Aragu.
Thank you.
I guess I have something to ask Vilma now on these lines, because you have been able to scale up your operations in multiple cities now. So what has been your thought on scaling up that innovation with each new city, each new system in place? What do you feel about it, and how has that process evolved for you?
Yeah, so we really are ready to scale up, actually we have the means in terms of the team, the capacities, all of that in place. What we really now expect is the ecosystem to give us that platform to scale up. Because today the rules, waste management rules 2016, the problem is out there for all of us to see, and segregation at source is at the heart of the solid waste rules. But yet, on the other hand, the ecosystem is not talking segregation. The ecosystem is saying behavior problems are there, people are not segregating, so let's have waste to energy for mixed waste. And we know that that is not the solution, because that's going to add to our problems of climate change. It's going to add to our pollution problems. So what we need currently is government speaking the language of their own legislation. Cities, municipal corporations, taking on the challenge to say, look, segregation at source, we embrace it. We will have that stick and carrot approach, but this is the way forward, and put in place infrastructure to enable the processing of segregated waste, and understand that in this whole spectrum of waste, if you put infrastructure, you have to manage the infrastructure. You have to have appropriate budgets to be able to manage the people who are part of that infrastructure, who are going to run that infrastructure. So all that we want is this proper holistic ecosystem, which will then bring in so many more entrepreneurs and really give us good jobs. Because if you even look at our team, we have out of the 300 people, the big chunk is people from the base of the pyramid working on the field, but then we have a highly professional team who is also managing the system. We have a legal team, we have an operations team, a marketing team, a technology team, all of that. So there is this combination of, you do need professional, highly qualified professionals, and we want to attract more of these, because today, if you look at the young people, they really want to solve the problem. So why can't we can attract them if we are, able to also be able to afford a certain remuneration that we can give to the teams. So I'm saying this ecosystem must get out of, the basics which we are not able to overcome. Yeah, segregation at source is a basic. We are not allowed to run vehicles here and there wherever we want to go. There's a system in place. So why shouldn't we not enforce segregation? Yeah, and it is easily done. If we can accept that and make it happen, decentralized resource recovery would definitely be something that many of us and our young entrepreneurs will be able to do. And very quickly, the second thing is really the finance. You go to nationalized banks today, and in spite of all the schemes, they don't understand waste, and they're not even making an effort to understand. They ask us, what is your technology solution? Yeah, so that is my battle against technology. That's my battle against smart, because we are really being unsmart in refusing to understand, the impact, environment and social, that has to be embedded in our solutions. Yeah, so I'm very confident if we can work with any of you to get them to understand the real solutions, we could really, 62 million tons per year is what India generates. And look at the amount of jobs we can create. Look at the amount of impact, environmental impact we can have if, we can get out of this narrow thinking that, we can't segregate waste at source.
Thank you so much, Wilma. I do resonate
I
with you.
I'd like to add a small point to what Wilma
Sure,
said.
sure.
Yeah, Wilma, yes, right. You are rightly pointed out. Segregation is a huge challenge, and enforcing it comes up with, because the political economical equation that will come into play. So if we want to enforce these things, so yes, everyone knows that if we properly segregate, that problem is going to get solved. This is not just the problem of our country. Across world, every country faces that, because from the political perspective or the bureaucratic perspective, it is highly hard to enforce such things, because we know how the ground reality is. Here we are trying one more approach, which is, there are some startups which are coming. Um, we are making revenue sharing model, and we are sharing them some of our actual problems related to mainly in the field of solid waste management, like preparing compost, selling it, and all those things. We are not charging them. It is like purely revenue sharing model. They have to just solve the problems, and if they generate, once they started generating profit, they'll share something with the corporation, and they can keep the remaining. So we are doing such mechanisms to solve this issue, not only in solid waste management, even in other areas of urban issues. When a company comes, a startup comes, we are trying to promote revenue sharing model. Even with recently also some electric vehicle charging points and all those things came. So we, rather than paying them, we wanted to give them the opportunity or a space, whatever they ask, and in the profit we would like to share. So because government is also kind of in a fund crunches there, because of COVID, we have used almost all the resources towards health. But we have to focus on development as well. So many of the projects now we are taking this side. So if a startup can come up, I would like to tell this, to add this point to Mr. Karthik also. If a startup or any one who wants have an idea, he comes up with a revenue sharing model rather than asking money from government. If it comes up with the idea, and if we can produce profit out of it, then government would love to give that opportunity to that person, so that government will also earn because they don't have to spend. At the same time, the particular startup will get a chance to run it and earn out of it.
That's absolutely, I think, a good way to generate, monetary benefits for the government as well, especially the urban administration. Uh, I would like to tell all the audience members that please write your questions in the chat box and we will take it up now. And I think the first question has come from Himanshu to Wilma. And which areas are you planning to expand your operations to?
Yeah, so we are actually ready for any city or even any town, but there has to be that twin revenues that will enable us, to actually expand. And that is the revenue from a service fee. User fee is part of Municipal Solid Waste Rules 2016. And user fee enables us to run the system like the way we want, that the way it has to be done. So cities, especially places like Mumbai, Noida, Ghaziabad, Delhi, I don't see why there is so much resistance to paying a service fee so that there can be waste managed properly. So any city that's willing to pay a service fee, and then of course we have the waste revenues, we would be happy to expand. We are ready for that.
Thank you so much. Then there is a comment by Jyotsna Goel on getting loans from banks on people-centric model of waste management with less technologically savvy is indeed difficult. Any comments any speakers has on the same?
Yeah, I would like to say we've had practical experiences. I mean, we've had Government of India announcing MSMEs, as people who need help, and we are a registered MSME in a critical space like waste management, having delivered, the fact is that we have delivered on what we promised to do, and yet we don't have access. So I don't know who to go to. I mean, really, it is really, really. I would say tragic that the sector they're so poorly informed. So we do need people in high places, especially governments and bureaucrats, to put the word out there that this is the form of systems that we want in place, and it should not be so much of a struggle for us. Not when you've already announced it and when we have put in place all the mechanisms and we have we are a registered authorized MSME. We're qualified, we're eligible.
Yeah,
and I of course even also use the women entrepreneurs. We're all 65% of our organization are women, and yet I need answers as to why we're not getting the required working capital.
I can add. I would like to add a point to this. What you are telling is right. Every organization, you said we have to put people at higher positions. People at the higher positions know exactly that this is the way they have to put user fees. They have to put fines for not segregation, all those things. And bureaucratic decisions doesn't matter. This is kind of a political decision that has to be made. And I'm stressing that I'm not telling that this is right, but this is what is happening. I'm telling. So we have to think in a way that yes, this is happening. So how we can overcome this rather than this is just my personal view. I'm telling. So rather than waiting for government to take this step, along with this, how we can solve it, and that is what we are seeing. I'm just making the point. It's not that government don't know. Government knows clearly, but our political system is entirely different. So putting some tax or service fee is highly difficult for any political party. So I'm just telling the ground reality. It's not. I'm not telling that your point is wrong. Yours is absolutely right.
I guess we have got a very interesting question from Vaishnavi Shankar on everyone over here has spoken about decentralized innovative solutions. So what is the potential and feasibility for large scale innovative solutions in Indian cities? Uh, anyone would like to take it up?
Yeah, I can answer this question. I can also answer my view of answer. What is the potential and feasibility for large-scale innovative solutions? See, See, like I mentioned before, it's not about the scale of the solution. It's more of a scale of the problem that it is trying to solve. So if the solution is going to solve a large scale problem, definitely there's a chance to push for it. But if the solution is so big and it is going to solve a very small problem, the chances that will be taken to the next level will be very less. But it's not. But cities are much open now, because now a situation has come that where any government has to prove that they are working towards government. It's kind of now good governance initiatives are taken in many places. So if the solution is so good, see, I'm talking from the perspective of social entrepreneurship, not from the private ideas, which may not be useful for the government, but it will be useful for generating revenue. That is also equally important. I'm telling from the perspective of government that what government is focusing on. So if the solution is going to solve a large scale problem, definitely yes, there is a lot of avenues are available. A lot of departments are there which will take you, which will guide you at the right direction. So the options are always open.
So maybe I can take that, Puneet, in terms of, we see a lot of, engineering solutions which are large in scale, right? Like, so you want to put up 100,000 tons per day, waste processing plant, or you want to kind of do, large scale solutions for a municipality, which might require like 100 crores, right? So when you come up with solutions like that, the only option you end up having is to actually find a financial partner, right? You need to kind of bring kind of a corporate with a balance sheet, or a partner with a balance sheet, to kind of take that forward, right? That's the only way out. So that's an incremental part of the ecosystem. So what you're doing is basically somebody who has strong relationships with the municipality or the government, who actually has service relationships, being able to kind of bring your technology forward as being something of an incremental value add to the city or the government, right? That's the only way out. And that's not just, because of what I talked about earlier, which is the trust factor, right? So you want to kind of, how are you going to trust a small, outfit that's just started a couple of years back with like a, 1,000 crore project, right? So that's going to be hard. So for you to break the trust factor, you need some kind of a financial sponsor. Two is basically, if you're going to be trying to make money and survive off a project of that scale, a financial backer, right? So, because those are going to take time for implementation, the working capital cycles are going to be big, and you need that partner to kind of make things work, right? And so what you need to figure out as a startup is, who in the ecosystem you work with, right? But that's also kind of to step back. Can you break down large scale problems or large scale solutions into small scale ideas that a bunch of startups or others come together and do, right? And that you could do on a phased wise basis. So let's talk about, like, if it's a large scale biogas plant that you want to do, you could work first around collecting the organic waste, then the basic silaging or kind of processing just with a simple civil structure, and then basically kind of going in for the larger capital equipment once you know that there is enough waste being processed to basically justify a capital investment, right? So a lot of these can be staged. A lot of these can also kind of have back-ended contracts over time, reducing the risk. And that's something that a lot of our companies kind of spend the time doing, right? What it means for a startup is that you also give up a lot of your profitability, your revenues to other partners, but that's the only way to kind of, help the ecosystem evolve to a new place, right? What you want to do is hopefully get bigger and be able to do them yourself. But till that time, partnerships is the way to go. And that's something that we spend a lot of time working through as an incubator as well.
Yeah, I will. What you said is right, Karthik. I just want to add one more point to it. Like you said, finance is the most important part, and what equally important is how powerful your idea is. I'll give you a small example of what we did, what happened here a few years back. There was a project which is called smart parking. It was taken by a company, a small company. They wanted to do parking, smart way of parking across city, because we don't manage parking properly. They said they will draw the areas and roads where people park this cars and two-wheelers can be parked, and they will properly put a system, a sensor or a high-end camera, so that from here, from the city control room, we can see what are all the slots open, where all the cars are parked, and people can also have in a mobile app they can see, and people can park. This will reduce traffic. This is a very good idea, and they said we don't have to speak. The city don't have to spend anything. They just have to give approval. And we gave the approval. The project is going on. But here, what this in this project, and what I'm telling is this: they choose the right problem statement so that city cannot tell no, because it's a huge pressing problem. And even if they pitch this idea to investors, because they clearly know it is going to generate revenue, because parking is across city, everywhere parking is going to happen. So no parking slot is going to be free, so they can easily calculate the revenue which is going to come out of it. So the generating fund revenue for this project was also not tougher. At the same time, getting approval from the government for this project is also not no, was easy for that company. What I suggest is make that idea so sure that people cannot deny it. People should know that they have money in it, profit is involved in it. They can clearly see the profit component in it. They will definitely, I strongly feel that all the things which is necessary for that company to grow a project to be implemented in the ground will automatically happen. I just my view, so that I'm not telling every project will happen like this. This is a view since I have seen. I just wanted to tell this is also one of the possibility.
I
Thank
may
you
just
so
add,
much.
sorry.
Sure,
I'm
Vilma, go
sorry,
ahead.
there's a lot of background sound because of the rain just now, but if I may just add to the thinking sometimes behind centralized. And we've seen that industry generally loves to go for these large mega projects, centralized projects, just because, that's where the maximum profitability is also there. But today, in the sense of climate change and the problems, really, we need now solutions which measure environment impacts. Yeah, so and if you're looking at environment and social impacts in line with SDGs, you will see many of our big centralized projects should not be there. So I'm asking that industry along with government, please review the real requirement and need within these parameters of environmental and social impact. And today we see even ESG, which is welcomed in many ways, still following a narrative of where will this will bring us profitability. So therefore we go in this direction. Today, you go for net zero solutions, you look at transitioning from energy, from fossil fuels to renewable energies, and we see renewable energy companies who are talking big infrastructure, not even putting in place collection, recycling of infrastructure. Solar panels are now coming into our landfills. Where is the infrastructure for recycling of this? So I'm saying this is our opportunity for really pushing back on industry as citizens, as individuals, as startups. Really, industry now must take equal responsibility for the different systems that we have to build within the framework of climate change.
Thank you, Vilma. I do understand your point, and I do agree that yes, we have to consider larger things in life here, especially with climate change in perspective. I would like to thank all the speakers, Karthik, Adagu, and Vilma, for taking out time and sharing with us their experiences and their thoughts on innovation in climate change. I do believe we still need to do a lot of work, but I guess all of us working together in this field, we will be able to take it forward. Thank you, everyone.